Hey guys, so today I'm going to talk about something that you watched any of my other videos. You're probably sitting there going, "What the heck's he talking about?" Um, that's your life's path. You can call it your spiritual path, your destiny, whatever you want to call it. I choose to call it my life's path. Okay. Now, that path's going to look different for everyone. To share what I think of when I think of my life path is a forest. Big, beautiful, luscious forest with a pathway simply going through it. All right. That pathway is my life. That pathway is what I'm walking down constantly. As I'm going down this pathway, I'm going to get stopped. There's lessons to be learned as I'm walking down my pathway. And if I'm moving too fast down that pathway, I'm going to miss those lessons. And those lessons might be lessons that I need to learn for some decision or a fork in the road later on in my pathway to help me make those decisions when I get there. So the first thing I'm going to tell you when you're walking down your path, don't speed through it. It's not a jogging path, for lack of better words. It's a walking path. Take your time. As you're walking down your path, make sure you're looking at everything. Make sure you're processing everything through your head. The little lessons that might be something that you get through in a day. Some lessons are going to take longer, but it's on your path for a reason. A lot of times when I'm talking to people about their path, I'll tell them it's time to stop and smell the roses. That's an indicator to a lot of these guys that says, stop, you're moving too fast. Slow down, look around. Learn the lessons that are in front of you right now. As you're learning those lessons, start moving forward again. I can guarantee you at some point in time, you're going to come up to a fork in the road and you're going to have to make a decision, left or right. Maybe there's multiple decisions. But the lessons that you've been being taught down your path are giving you the tools to make that decision. I'll use my son as an example. My son, recently, well, not recently now, it was about a year or so ago, broke up with his wife. He was down in the dumps. He was pissed off. He was a drunk. He'd given up on life, didn't really care. I mean, at one point in time we were talking, he'd gotten kicked out of the house. He said, I don't care. I'll go live on the streets like I did when I first got out of the military. Not acceptable, first of all. But he was falling apart. He didn't know what to do without this woman in his life anymore. Didn't know how he could, because the two of them had become so meshed together in their lives that living separately he couldn't handle. He couldn't do it anymore. He couldn't afford it. So he comes to me. We start walking down his path, or he starts walking down his path. First thing, dry yourself out, man. Time to sober yourself up. Get him away from alcohol. Get him away from everything else. Get him focused on some positive stuff. And then from there, starting to teach him, hey, that's fine if you want to have the neat new PS whatever game console and all this other stuff, but you got a truck payment coming up. Which are you going to pay for right now? Some of the things were even simpler than that. Dude, you got to work on Monday. Have you done your laundry yet? No? Maybe you need to get in there and do your laundry, so that way you don't smell like a week's worth of death. Teaching him, like, what he will say to me now is I was teaching him how to be a man. And I think that in itself was part of its own lesson right there. Because I did teach him to be a man. I told him to stand on his 2 feet on his own. And once he was able to do that, then worry about having a wife and children and all those wonderful things. But if he can't support himself, how can he expect to support a whole family? So we spent about, I'd say, a year, maybe a little bit less than a year, going through all these lessons day in and day out. And as he started learning, as he started becoming stronger, as he started growing up, all of a sudden I'd give him a little bit more responsibility. Hey, your sisters are fighting, go deal with it. You know, things like that. Till one day he comes up to me and he goes, Dad, doing good. I want to buy this for myself. Okay, can you afford to? Yep. Okay, can you afford all your other stuff with that? Yep. Show me how. And he showed me how. So I was like, all right, go buy it. And it was something simple. He, from a rent-a-center, he bought a bed. USB ports on it, all this headboard stuff, and blah, blah, blah. Nice bed. Just all the storage underneath the bed and what have you. And he was going to make payments on it to help his credit. He came to me and says, my payments are this much, my down payment is this much, and I'll have it paid off in this time frame. But if I'm able to throw extra money on it, I can have it paid in this time frame. He came to me with all that, as opposed to me having to show it to him. He's learning. He's growing. All of a sudden, Dad, I need my own truck. I need to be able to get around. And, you know, I got these jobs up north and all this other stuff, and blah, 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 blah. I need my own mode of transportation. Okay, can you afford it? Yep. Bada boom, bada bing, bada boom, bada bing. He learned what it took to be responsible. And then he learned what it was going to take to grow himself into a proper man. Okay? And that's all I'm telling you. His life lesson was to come back and live with me, get him through his grieving of the loss of his wife, or of the divorce of his wife, get him going right, get him dried out, get him going through everything else. And then he was able to start walking down his path by himself again. Dad didn't have to walk next to him. Dad didn't have to hold him up. He's walking on his own. Of course, always trying to show you the negative, but also give you a positive here. He's now living with his soon-to-be wife. They just gave birth to a beautiful baby boy. He's got a stable job. He is being the man of the house. It's a beautiful thing to watch. So you guys are going to go through the same thing too. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. There was a lot of bumping of heads. There was a lot of backhanding. There was a lot of screaming. There was a lot of yelling. Getting him to certain points while he was walking on that path. That little chunk of path with me. But the end result is what I'm proud of with him. The end result is beautiful. And you might have the same thing happening to you. You're going to have to stop. You're going to have to take in all these lessons. Because all these lessons, they're just making you stronger. They're making you able. Okay? And then you're going to go keep walking down that path, and you're going to come up to something where it's decision-making time. For him, that first decision was to own a bed. Own something he wanted. Okay, well, I just can't go out and drop money on it anymore. Let me think this through. Next was to own a form of transportation. Thought things through. There were a few other things in between there, but next was, I'm going to be a dad. Let me think this through, what I'm going to have to do to be the dad that I never had. Or, sorry, he is adopted. Don't want to put myself down there. But, what do I have to do to be everything to this child? What's it going to take? And he thought it through, and he's proceeding forward, and he's pushing forward. You always step forward on your path. Okay, you can't step back. What's done is done. The decisions have been made. The lessons have been taught. Too far ahead, and you're living in the future. You're planning, which in some instances is not a bad thing to do. You want to have those long-term goals. You want to have a plan of action. You want to have all that stuff. But what's important is what's right in front of you. The lesson that you are meant to learn that is right in front of you is what matters the most. So you need to absorb it while it's still in front of you, because once it gets behind you, you're not going to be able to learn it anymore. You're not going to be able to learn from it anymore, sorry. But take your time while it's right there with you. Take in all the information that you can. You never know when you're going to need it. It's so important. Like I said, when you get to that decision, it's going to help you to determine left or right. Choice is yours. But always move forward on your path. Keep moving forward, and you'll be just fine.